يا يخصتيني لكت يوان قش ين القوين يا ين القوين يا أكوان آني آتلين سيو داكو ستان تخنخ يات تلينخ كيتلي أدخاو والغاندي ينقد تخ تكت وقتل أيا كيك وشات أقا نلتي وجودي يا قوينتين قاد قوينتين تكت أجن قاقوس قنخوي خلقو تلقيكي قل ناسكدهين تلقيكي يوي يخوص النيج يا خانة أختواسكو يا جاقو خاو يغتنجي وتساخي قل يستين هخوسكو قل أدات يجيني ياتا إيلان يدو ساقو أد لنجد غنخ إنان هخوسكو إنان إيلان آن أوي قني خايق أتنجي كاكي شهيد ناسكي أقدزتي وال إتواسكو أدات يجيني شكوياتا فايل قا نو ياتا كاكي الجيغ أقا كاكي شي ويغ أتنج خدقا خسكو يادو أقا ياتا تسو يجيدي تلت يجيدي أجاك قصو أقوصو هاو وي ويب سايت كادي كاكوتي قوة وي media file قا template file يادو ياتو تين أو ليخا جيس قا ياتا يخ والي تواسقو يستيني كو سايو ختنك يادو ياتا أقا والكاكي شهيد ديو ختنجي
كانوا
دن هاك تخدخ أوسك قوة والشدزي آيا دوتيني أدريخ تواسقو زوم والديخ هندد font size والكليقاقا داغون أستن كات قا تليدوشو آيادو ياك تخ خنخيك أد واللي تواسقو قايو قتنجي كي شهيدي يا أكنا كلينجت أتايي كليقاق إنخ English يا يدت قوة جساق تواسقو قختوسا آخي دوغيت قختوسا آخي ينينيدي قنيا يا كاكوجو يادا Jimmy Johnson يدو ساقو بقى Oh, that's it. فديخنا يدت ينواني
كانوا يا كوكا سنجت أتخا تنجت خات أجاوت تخات خايت أوه شوفك تقوى أكيد تقات الساينين سوين شكو تانس كنت كتقصاك توهين كنت كتقصا تاتينا كندشون أنا هو أتقيشي تيك قات شات سوق شت قات تا تان يتوساق تاقوا تا قاتا شيتا واتتا يسقا أقوات وتايت شقت سنجت أتخايا يا كوكو تخوات سنجت يا قوة كهاك خوشي سخيئة كهاك خايك سكة تتخاك آي قوة جيش دوساك كهاك تتخاك سنجت كهاك قوة يا وقت سكو تعشو آية تخواساي يبقى تخوات سنجت ساق أسك هيقنخ ساق أسك قاج ساق أسك بيايا تخوة سنجت آيو أكايا قوختيكا أخ إيشتين يتآيهين خسلكنوش أخ تاج قد تيتو سوكون يتآيهين تاقو قاو قوتس ياوت أيهين أسوكنوش أتيوت أنسقك تنختاتو يتآيهين أتوقت آيهين أسوكنوش أخ إيش قيدا تقانوش قندت آتيخ ينيكو قاق تقندت تقياوت أيهين أسوكنوش يوتا تقانوش تيت آيهين تسوكون تاقو يو تيت كافة تيتو تاك تسنجد يغت تخاين أتيوها شيتهينين سنجد شيتهينين قادت تتلقاسية يايدت تلتقاتو تيه قايا هوتك يهانستين سنجد هوتك يهانستين تلتو شاكوكو تلتقا يسنجش تلتو شكوك يتلقاسيات تلتو شقاسيتات تلتو تلتقايخ أتيه هوتك يهانستين سنجد أتيه هاشنفكت تلتقا ياخد يهانقك يسنجد آنتو هوتك يهانستين تلقاسات تلتو شقاسيتات تلتقايخ يكاخت هوتك يهانستين خياتنا ناو أتوتك خاوسيخته يا أساساً قد خستي قايا خيانا خيا كوكين يا آنك هاشية تهينين يدا تلت خاوستي يا هوتك يا أتوات خاوت تزكيسكون تاقو قايا قستيت لتقه أيين دخ يكيت لتقه أيين دخوه بس يكيت لتقه أيين دخو تلسشكه يا هايك يتي وهان هايك سنكت إيك أتجوه هوتك غيهانستين يا يخسكو خاج ها هوت يا أكد خسو قاقوايا داغنا واتسيخ تخواين أتسو داغنا أكد خسو قاقون جانو كشت غواسا قايت قاق يدو ساقوا قاق أتتو خواين قنه نه يجاتو ساقو قد داو يجاتو ساقو يه قاق أيو ساقو نسكتتله تقود التاق يودتلو قايا يه تو خواين آسكت تسيقين آسكا وسخوك يقاق يقه وشكوكو تخالسو سهين تاخي يتسنشكخ تخواي تليس آخي وستيك يوت تخواين سنجد تخاي يه أتخسو قاقوايا قيا نانا كانت آية ستيت خصة نانا كانت آية تساقوا ستيت خصة تتأي حتى يا يأوه سكوها هوت يا
Okay. Shukwa yada ye Gwallia ach huja. Ye awa ya naski a kutzatia itch yeshukwa a koach to sago dati rigatilla ati shukwa aweshin gitrenach itch away date kak enach. Dasa ach dasa dat tiu de tan. Dasa dat away yuch de tan. That's away.
Lingi ye.
Ye awa shinget at high. Ye awa. Gwalliata awe shukwa a gwallitoa sago dati jiwane. Isitin Kaidushu witness ka ka dalkun seconds. Akaye akat klehuch. Ya just uski aye kakwasti. Ya achtawasagu kakikitla dat. Ya tlingit reinach dasa iya ach. Akak kakinik. Klechak reinach dasa iya. Yata wash klidzi. Jayegugengia Tleshlzi. Tlein Asaku puts it Yak General. What's it? Klak ask ne. Asaku ayakaki shahin. I itch quash ayanach Hegurtlzi. Jadasa away. It was a gukaya aku. Ayati. Wasai to which qua. That kak inach niate again. Thoughts, things that you folks were hearing? I guess don't give it all away, but just want the idea here is I think we've got 3 recordings, and this one is probably the easiest of the 3. They're all going to be kind of difficult because it's a full-on speaker. It's like you're learning how to drive a car, and then we're like, okay, hop on the Autobahn, right? And so everyone's going a million miles an hour. He's a fairly fast talker. There's a little bit of background noise, so I was able to scrub quite a bit of it out. There's like a kid in the background, but with headphones, you should be able to do okay. And I think this one's going to be the easiest because it's a lot of list making. Right? He's naming a bunch of stuff. So if you're feeling a little low confidence, this might be a good one to take on. The other 2 are going to be narratives, and we'll listen to them in a moment. You don't have to use ELAN. I think it is helpful. So I will be, I'll build the files for you. So the biggest thing is you should save the audio and the ELAN file in the same location because it's going to be looking for that audio file. So your best bet is to create a folder, if I were you, wherever you store like your documents. It's up to you. If you got messy desktop, that's not my business. Just the cut that way. If you got everything on your desktop, it's not my business. But wherever you save stuff, I would recommend you create a folder called ELAN, E-L-A-N. And then within those folders, I would organize it by speaker. That's what I would recommend. That's how I do it. So I have, whether you're using their and then I would have then within those folders, I would have each individual session, whatever I'm working on. That's what I would recommend. So if you're saving stuff in My Documents or Dropbox or whatever you're using, I would create, if you don't have it already, a folder that says ELAN, and within it, one that says Jimmy Johnson, and then you could download these. There's going to be 3 short recordings. This is all one long one. So what I did today was I pulled off 3 short versions, and I'll put links to them on our website tonight. So our website tonight will have some additional links on the top when it says midterm assignment, and it's going to have it separated by the 3 different recordings. And each recording will have a WAV file. Use the WAV file for ELAN. It's going to have an MP3 version, so you could just listen to it from the website, download it. It's a little bit smaller. If you want to like keep this stuff on a device, you can walk around and listen to it. That's going to help you an awful lot. Like, the slow crawl through where you're trying to figure out every single thing is good. But I think if you just listen to it a whole bunch, your brain's going to do a lot of that background work for you. And then there's going to be the ELAN file. I would save them all in the same folder. If anything gets broken, we'll check in on Monday and see. You don't have to do this. It is one additional thing, but it's really pretty clever. So like if I highlight this, it shows me where the WAV file is. For my computer, I hold the shift key and push the space bar, and that plays just this little clip. So then here on the thing, and I could double click, and now I could type and Tling it. It gets a little clunky sometimes, but these are pretty short. So I would say yay away. What's next? Anybody know what's next?
Siku, Ahuch, Awe, Aya.
By something right at the beginning of this.
Ao Siku.
Washiku?
I think he's saying Yeowech Saku. Maybe something like that. Yeowech Saku Ahuchaya. So, translators. How are we going to translate this one?
Right on. That's what I know. That's all.
That's all, yeah. For ye away, when ye away is paired with a verb, I would usually have like that is how the verb, right? So in this case, when you have huasaku, which we see contracting to husaku, from this verb, like high fluency stuff, right? Vowels before running into the prefix. I would probably say that is how I know it. That is all, right? And it's gonna be up to you how you sort of engage in this stuff. I do this stuff all the time. I have my own preferences. I have my own ways that I lean when I do this type of work. But this is engaging with whole language, and I want you to give it your best shot. And just don't get frustrated. Just write down what you can. It's like, I'm hearing something like this. And then we'll check in and we'll start going through these. I don't know. I'll probably give you next week to just work on it all by yourself. And we'll start checking in and going through it. Whenever we do assignments here, we're always in it together. It's like, go see what you could do, but it's not like, I heard about this culture camp in a community where there's drop kids on an island with a potato and a pocket knife. And they're like, I'll be back in 4 days, So it's nothing like that. It's not, you're not in a Survivor episode, and it's not scary. You are engaging with a full high fluency speaker and just seeing what we can catch. But this thing has a lot of controls in it too. Like there's a whole lot to ELAN, and there's people who know it a lot better than I do. But you can, like if you listen to this phrase, or we just go the one before it, since we've already got this one. We'll just stick with this one up here. So if we're like, there's something, so you can slow it down with this rate control here. You might be saying, He might be saying that. Yo al saku ahuchaya. And he said, that is how I know some of them. And we are translating, but I really like how when I work with Bessie Cooley on stuff like this case, she would usually say, we're interpreting, because like translation feels like this is what they're saying, and interpreting is like, this is what I think it is, right? So it's okay to take a guess, it's okay to theorize, and it's okay if it's not spot on every time, because we're going to go through and review it, and we'll see what we came up with these 3 different recordings. Any thoughts, questions, concerns?
Kone,
Huh.
in that phrase, there's yayawa ausiku. Could you explain the relationship between the and the Are they referring to the same thing?
That's a great question. So the is putting emphasis on something, right? And so like you say, gonna chish and it's like a lot of things. And it's the same one we use when we give someone a new name at a ku'ig. You might hear people say yeah, right? And it's the same that's actually on a we. So it has a whole bunch of uses, but it's almost like a little exclamation point, or you just sort of like focus on this thing. And usually it pulls the focus back to the thing that you just said. There's a very similar one, which is kha. And kha is like you see. They do very similar things where they are kind of hard to translate. And whenever you're doing interpretation, translation work, there may be things where you're like, well, I know that does something, but I'm not going to put it in English. Right. And it's
those are usually after the verb, is that correct?
Yeah. But it could be after it could be a noun too. You could say kushta wechasati. That's
but it's sort of a verbal pronunciation that's after whatever it is you're emphasizing rather than before.
Yeah, it comes after. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one's different. Anybody know what this one is? I did the first one. Someone else do this one. Part of the verb. It changed from 0 to Fine. So this is an object pronoun, and it means some of them. And so that it's not used a whole lot. But in this case, he's saying like, well, I named some of them, right? Like in this recording, they're probably like, hey, talk about like foods. And so he's just building these lists. And then he's like, yeah, that's how it is. I know some of them. And he's like, that's it. And so what he's signaling here is like, this is the end of this particular session that I'm talking about. And we'll see he's going to switch to something else. And so if you say wasaku, you're like, I know some of them. And so it's a really interesting thing to just sort of watch for. This is the pronoun that jumps to the other side of a lot of things. Like when you say, let me make a note here. So I'll show you folks how this one works. Okay. Let me set up my little document here. So with the that we're looking at here, so we see it in this one like wasaku. Right? And usually you're gonna have wasaku. He's contracting this out of there, which is totally, that can happen. So it's like, I know some of them, right? So if you point it to some people, you say, adu sahas. I might say wasaku. And then I'll start pointing them out. Like I say, I know some of them. That's just saying I don't know all of them, right? You could also say, I ate some of them, right? And so this is telling you a bunch of stuff. Like, yeah, I had some, but there's some left. I need all the cookies, right? And so now that's how it can work with that, right? It is the same pronoun. It's a different, you know how we've got like object, subject, and then independent. So the independent version jumps on the other side of a bunch of these things. So Chana would be the one beside, and then there's a few of these with like something right? And so we see it that way. And it's also the same one that's on these ones, like Chita and Chita and Una. But this is a weird thing where it jumps to the other side of the verb root, but it's just a certain way to make nouns. And so this is the same type of thing that we're seeing. And so it's what we call partitive, and I think it does have partitive pronoun. It really only pops up for the object. So you don't, and then you see it like, which is really interesting, is achua is a particle and how you would say some of them, which is interesting, right? And so you might say achua ya hataswukuhu. Some of them, when they came here, they weren't nice to us, right? But this is just saying, like, not all of them. Okay, good question. Anything else? Okay. Well, get yourself ready. We've got another 6-minute chunk or so. We'll listen for the next hucha, and then we'll just sort of see the how about that.
Aye, there was Sago Kayo. Shawak to a cook. Akayo, Heinz Kotenik. Shawak. Ye, there was Sago Yuka. Kita. With the center to Kauteha. Yet to teach and a hood a shooting up. I had to create and a hood a shooting up. Cut to street to you. Not there. Yuka. You ich ayo. Kita. You do a sack. Akayo, yeah, was I qua to eat on a shiku qua. Chahana, being on a shiku. You chahana eight quayo, you ayatanic, high in Scasnike. Doing on a shiku. Chahana, you do a sack, you qua. Kate, jagt our heat, you nicht. Kate jagt our heat, to you at good to it, I can. I shahina county, Sha. I yak our who you doctor, to ye that could sit here, who. To ye that could sit down, who ye got tick. I to you, who quake to a tick. Yak how to take. To ye that hour, to Yayaki, hour. On a school ye got tick. Are you? And ik den a sawe, ta goed schau de wa utikte. At you aetke detke, you are siktach. Gesucht ta hou sitak. Siktach hin. Acho ayewu na kwatek. Ye ka ta to ustayida to wake atcha. Katu yake. Katu wuke yokutiti atutu wachaustin iktena satach awe tachtetach achiyuyat awe wuchu gesin getane ya uwa tawuchu kuch Stakata Todeo wa hook usa. Kutsiti at Kayai Dasa Hintakate a hote wa hook. At that she ayatsu Chago ate Chutane takachtas ine the cake to Shijin Atashi Hotwasa Wuch hook at Hesane خودوا سا وشو قد خساني تاخياس كان خسيك يه كاكت وسلايتخ يسقشيه يويتو وساكو ياتا تاتا ستانيت كخشتا كختساتي اوكيك تشيج يكو كختو ايخي تاك ناسي يه آنو تكوشوتها يه يخسيكو يه هاهو تاوه
Data tsawiko. Shukwa tlingit kainach yakatlaitka. Yukatangi niate.
Qual ixte nawage, naska de shu ka jinka naska de shu. About 8:18.
Oh, nakakakoshi lete. Yak again.
اقتنا ساوه تاخد شاوده ووت اقتنا
Ikti naslawe.
It Latsini. I think I'm hearing that the character is a powerful man, an it.
اقتنا ساوه
Yeah, what ashukata we ikhtat yuke watan. Yeah, that's for ikte. Nasla. Ikte nasla away.
Oh, okay. Just
اخ تاخد شاوده ووت اقتنا
Ikte. Okay, ko. Dasa dat yuke that's how yuke watan. Who is it okay? Who? Okay, at the way who? Yeah, they are. Take in the data way, hit. Was tehu. Aka kakwashi. Aka. Walka hisaku. Chagutan. Yeah, they are. Tehu. Aka kakwashi. Tekas, tekad, taitluhu. Tehu. Yadu. Adata way you watan. Tehu. Anachswe ko. Yisukuga. Tlach kunach kadutlazini at. Hakosti iten. Klagu konkian. Take who. Shasha ki. An wutlako. Or an qatlako. Ikte wutla ayat at the katwitlinget an wuhu. Kakudzi. Let's reflect a little bit. So we hit the what was our hoochie mark? Go find.
Ten.
10? Oh, I should have marked it. No,
Yeah.
Okay, let me just listen. Oops.
تاخياس كان خسيك يه كاكت وسلايتخ يسقشيه يويتو وساكو ياتا تاتا ستانيت كخشتا كختساتي اوكيك تشيج يكو كختو ايخي تاك ناسي يه آنو تكوشوتها Yeah, Yaxiku. Yeah, I hope so.
Frozen.
Yayidat. Yatika, Yokatanga, Atuda Quate. Yayidat.
Oops. Huachak. Okay. What is he talking about? No ideas? Okay.
Raven, yes.
Yeah, there was Raven in them. Yeah.
And a female animal, sheesh.
That was, there might have been in this one. I know it was in the other one. But yeah, it was probably in this one too. When he's talking about who, that's a very important thing in Tlingit. Tehu. With the ancient people. And the tik and the yak and the anqatlaku. Those are your key elements to this whole thing. Anqatlaku, tik, hu, shashaki.
Tik is rope.
Yes,
Yak is boat.
that's right. Why would and shashaki? Why?
The Greek flood in the mountaintop.
Yeah.
Cue the fireworks. Hekwashtuk. Okay, so this story, this narrative is about the flood and tying boats to. I don't want to give up too much information, but it's way cool. And so, but this is a bigger step than the last one, because the last one's like these lists. I think this is going to be really neat exercise. And so, we have a new ferry in Southeast Alaska, which doesn't have a whole lot of real food on it. And that's the downside. But the good side is you can sit on a boat for 6 hours and then you got to find stuff to do, which is the last 2 boat rides I took. I came up with some new way of like just rethinking like how we talk about the verbs and the prefixes and stuff, which I've shared with you and which we'll go over. But then I also came up with an idea for this midterm because I was looking for a particular story, which is coming up next. And then when I found that story, I found this recording has like these 3 little distinct sections, and like 6 minutes is a really big bite. That's a whole meal. And so you got breakfast, lunch, and dinner in this whole. There's more to this recording too. We're only going to deal with the first like 20 minutes of it because it's a lot. Once you sort of step into this realm of like listening to whole Tlingit and figuring out what you can get, like that's just a different thing than sort of the chunks that we do, which are very helpful. And so this is to help us with our comprehension. At the same time, our challenge is to translate these little 1-minute dialogues that we had. And so these are both hefty chunks of language, and we'll be doing it all together. But again, when you go into this recording, and so when you work in ELAN, save it all the time. Just be ridiculous with like, find that little shortcut, Command S, Control S, whatever that thing is to save it right away, because it's going to crash. And when it crashes, you don't want to lose everything that you just wrote down, because it'll freeze. Like it just froze on me. Like it's like, I don't know what to do. I'll just keep playing the audio forever. And so I had to crash it. And so it's a program designed by people. I don't know, it's a flexible program. It's wonderful, but it's a little bit chunky. That's at times, like it'll get stuck. It'll have a little bit of a delay. But it does allow us to do that. But if you want to get old school and just have a Word document and play and pause and play and pause, you can. And if you want to be real old school and do it like they did it a long time ago, transfer it to a cassette, put it in a cassette player, hit play, rewind, stop, rewind, play, stop, rewind, and just make yourself really crazy. but that's, you know, that's how they worked on this stuff. And luckily it's been digitized. Jacques Alice Taff oversaw that, the digitization of the collection, which is wonderful. This comes from the collection of Nora Marks Dowenhauer and Richard Dowenhauer. It's tape 65. And so I just think it's a good time to dive into the collection and take a look at it. Other thoughts or questions? We got one more to listen to.
Yeah, I have one question.
Uh,
When it said nasla, was that to melt?
yeah, it's the what he's talking about. Ikhte. It's when it receded.
Okay, so the sla in here is not tidal, it's melting.
They're the same. It's the same verb root, I think. So the same verb root is so the tide melts back, and then it flows forward. So it flows inland, and it melts towards the ocean. So you say yana Tlein. It's going out, but it also, I think in the Lingi consciousness, it's like it's melting off. I don't know. But yeah, so you'd say uwasha for like when it's done. And yenash queen, which I learned when I was in Tesla last year in the summertime, when that was really flooding there. And then someone said yenash queen. I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Because we know like wushaku, but then you'd have it's conjugation. So you're gonna get ye, and then you get na, and then when you close it, it's gonna go from ku to queen. Just like ya anas queen. I was like, oh, it does all the things that it's supposed to do. Fun stuff. Okay, one more. We'll see what ELAN does for us this time. Oops. Oh, okay. Oops. Yeah. We might just listen to this one. And oh, oops. Okay. Okay, good to see this little thing.
ييدت يتيقا يقتن قايدت أتودك خطيه ييدت يد وساق قايو ينسكا دوقوخ قاناتك ود وساق شد قوت أقايو تايو عنديو سكوخ تا تايخ قوة هسسكيش تايخ وانا نيسو تايا تتوكو قوة أجيت آوخش تشت جيت آوخش تا تتوكو وتاخ آوشات تشت شتات توكو أو إيه تاك أو أوس هند آوخشته هند أخيجوت تشتو كان خوكي أو سيكو وكيت أو تيا أو قاو شاوت خوا هست توقعوك خد سيكوك يويا وقايو شاوت يا كده خوهين داوا خجو تساعد تكون قاوست أتستاقنا سشيء خويت استيقنا دين كستيش خبتكان تخيط كيك هيك حتى أول تلقوسته ياكد وخط يبكيت قانج يشاوت تتلوستين دشت واي كونيات سوت سنحكي وسيكوت تيكا الدقة وكيت دقة وشاوت تيقتنك تلا ياهو فيك أجوي كوتيا أصل توقع خسكوكو يكيت يوي أجوي ياكد وخط كيت قانج تتو إنو قناة وسيكو أجوي تتو ياكد بتشخخ تخخ تأيا وسناق تأيا خاتين شيخ سقويني نوا تقا أخصتنج أتقا قنقش تشت وكيد تقا وانا نيسوه قك ستي يقوى تهيدا والسكو تيتد وقخ تسيونك آيا وسكو تسيونك تاق أدايت تنك وقخ تقخ قختخ يا قيقات شودنك سؤاته تكني يوسن خات تكيه قته تشينا يسق وتك شايت وخوخ وقش أقين دو سكو وقش تيني كو سكو توته تشينا يعني كاكو دوا يعني آواتك تياغو آواتك تتاخوي وكوت ينده وقاقوا قاناتك تياتيين كنت تينو تياهين أتونك ياوا كنت ينده شو كانت قصته يقيك يا يهين خيك يكيتين يؤيك أتونك ياوا كنت شو ستينو شو كنت ياوا شو تي تيك قنيه وكنت يوتخودي وقد شغنخ تسندشانة دوات يوانت قيني يسنقت تسندشانة دوات خد سيق أسيو سيق قواني أسيو تسندشانة كوتو هنج هاوكسي تسندشانة داوات أتكوتو ييو دتسقا تاسي تشونه هاكشتوه كيت خاتوشا أخشت أتيا هيوت يوهيت أتي كود عايش كختوشا تاوخوت وقاوهيت بين دشانة دواتخوش أتو تادق نيو وكوت وهيت أتكوتوه ستياك تخوش تكاد نيوتن أقيم تتقطع سويش تشونه ها خشت خاية كيت شات خوشا آية سنكت ايد ساقو قاو تاسي تشونه تاتقاسو يعني كت تاسوي تشونه يوخ يقدواتنك خد توس قواني خودا سيو وكت تريد آني سكودوا سكتو جيسوا تاوا خودا وقاوة كيت شاوية يودا سكتك أو يسيق أو أيتينك آدق نيك قيكوتي ققي آخ أتخوت ققي آخ أقوية تقطتان نقلقيك كشوة تييس استشن أخوائي وصاق تييس تاكو خاو شوية خوة آديا قاقوت أو أخوة تخوت وآن توان أتاق نخاتت تخوت وانا نسوا وأخ قاخ وآتخوت إيته أقاخ خجد يتهيسسيو تليك واتكسيون أيو يتساتي تخواتا يكوخا كيتكوخو أتسيو قاخ يتساتي قيدة سيو قاخ أو تأجيس وياوسنه وتهيس كتين تياوسنه أنا كنانيكا تخانة وقيات يتواسق تخيت كيت قاني كيت هين كنستاك وشخين واسق تخيت يو أكيك تسنتكت هين كنستاك وشخين تيكو نستاك وشخين يتاكيك قيشات الشت يوشتا كوكا وكو يكا وانا نيسو هين قاقو خجيخيك وقا وشيسيوسن سيا تق توا وكو سيانا سيا هتيا او يا كنتو كنستاكو أجي ونق أكوتينو تكيك وكيت تتوك واخا وشات بتشت تآيي أنا تيني تكوشك تتخا وشاوت بتشت كيكك نفقت وشتا هينا واخا تسفيخ إيش يتتخا يوشاقا نفقت وشتا هينا واخا تسفيخ تتخا أتوت آية أنا تيني تكوشك وشاوت كيتسك أتواخا وشاتك كيو توس هتيته أنس سوى قوقان أو خود أو تتخويا جندات وكيت تتعيش خوانيك تتعيه تسو ساو تق توس قان خويق أيقا توشتق أتاق مكيت كنت أعتقد الشيوخ النيشته مكيت وانا نيسو استقاقو خطوات أتوق يقوات اينك تاقس ايت يتق تشيشق يقوات اينك تاقس ايت تقيقنك وانا نيسو اتخوها ها إشقاقتكوت يا كوخته يا إشقاقتكوت يين تقوات كوخته ويا أشناكوت ويتينك تشكيكالك تاقس إيت يتق وقا قاناتك إذا وساقو كيتي تاوسايقا وانا نيسا وشخي ووز ويا أشناكوت خدي سيكوكي تاك ها توس جاي جنك خطوقات تنخو سوى شات يتينك شاتاك أشيشق هو أويا أشناكوت أو شيخ النخو ويا أشناكوت خطوة كيا إيك يا سنجت أنا إيك توتي وشيوك وقا تكيك شوى أخطقت تتيدا وسوءات أسقوة يا وكو خسوتي أتا أستوانيك يه قاناتك كيت بيتاوشا كوكايا واتلق يا سكوها هو تيا
Naski wal qonea yuqewatan masa yawqa
يدت يتيكا يقتن قايدت
Yatik iyukatankaya idat diina kawanig. Pasaat ka kwani. Kwasayanach yatiki at aya weta. Wenaski kwas tata tasawi ach wishkatnik tin. Tatasa.
One of the words that might be a key to it, I might have heard keat for killer whale, but did I understand that right?
Yeah, away.
Okay.
Kituni you do a sound keshkatnik.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that I understood, but at the end, I must have misheard something because I thought I heard him say keat glee, and Tlingit people do not eat their friends, the killer whales, do they?
Yeah, okay, that's gonna be a really good question. To get to the end. So these three pieces of audio. So thinking about your work here, you have some options. If you want, just like you're feeling overwhelmed, and you just want to get a little appetizer, take recording number 1. If you're feeling like, oh, I'm feeling kind of hungry, I'm feeling like I could take a bite of something, go for number 2. And then if you want to do the challenge where it's like, you can eat this 16-pound hamburger and it's free. If you eat this thing, it's free. We'll take your picture, we'll put it on the wall. That's number 3. And so 3 is the biggest bite. It's a story called Keat Goonie. I've been looking for the story. Well, I've been thinking about this story for a long time. And I thought, why don't I just go in and look for it? And thankfully, I got to give a lot of credit to Zach Jones, who worked for Sea Alaska Heritage Institute for a while. And he was an archivist, and he secured some funding, and other folks at SHI did. And good on them for getting money and doing this project where they paid Kingisti, David Katzik, and Qoneoti, Marsha Hodge, to just listen to these collections and write down what they heard. And because of that, we have the Dauenhauer Finding Guide, which is brilliant. So I just looked up Keat Goonie and I found this recording. And this was the story that I was looking for because I want to know this story. Because this story exists in Haida as Nana Simgit. And I'm very interested because, well, I'm saying it in Haida, so I'm interested in that. Because you have Hoots, which is also the bear mother. And then you have this one, Keat Goonie, which is Nana Simgit. You also have Qunaqadate, which is Wasco. I'm very interested in how these stories are absolutely parallel. So the killer whales do something. They do something. And then someone does something about it. There. That's all you get. You just get a little teaser, just a little teaser, because I can't give you the whole trailer because then I'll give away the story. This is the most action-packed of the stories. This has the most detail in it. It's also the most complicated one. We'll go through all of them together throughout the remainder of the semester, and we're going to use this to learn a lot about how whole language functions. We'll keep doing activities to like be talking, and we'll keep looking at grammar stuff, but this is going to be the 3 vehicles that drive us through the remainder of the semester. Wonderful pieces of language, amazing stories. I'll give you some really big hints. So the first one is about like Tlingit foods. The second one is about the Great Flood. And I think someone named Shawak, who has a village named after him. It's very rare in Tlingit to have a place named after people. And so that's one of them. The second one, he gives the name a bunch of times, but the story is commonly called Keat Goonie. And it took place, there's these 2 long bays. One is right by Huna and one is right by Teniki. and they come together almost completely. And there's this little bridge that's called Kitguni that connects those two places. That's where this story happened. I don't know if he tells the entire thing. And so I know the story just because I heard someone tell it and sing it, and in English. It was Kutcha Kenny Grant who told it to. And I've been thinking about it. I remember my interaction, so you guys get to just wander around my brain for a little while. I first heard the place name. Then I heard that sometimes you could stand on this place and you'll see killer whales swimming on one side, and then you turn around and they're on the other side. You're like, what? There's this little piece of land. How'd they get over there? Because these two bays almost connect. And then I heard it's because there's a tunnel underneath, and they'll go through the tunnel, which is why it's called Kitguni. Then there's more to it, which we'll get to. But I can't give you too many spoilers. No spoilers. So this is your midterm. This is real work. This is very hard. Buckle your seatbelts, roll up your sleeves. There's really only a few people in the entire world who can do this kind of work, but that doesn't mean you got to do it alone. Kashuk, wasa.
Ganashish. May I ask what you know about Jimmy Johnson?
Not very
He's the
much.
speaker.
I'll find out. Maybe I'll find out. I'll give you some information on Monday.
Yeah, away. Ganashish.
The recording goes on. You get a story. There's cots. There's a couple other. I kind of stopped because I was like, okay, I'm going to get too distracted. I'm going to get too into this stuff. I want to focus on these 3 recordings so that you could be level 1, level 2, level 3. Pick whatever thing you're comfortable with. There's no expectations. There's no pressure. There's just the joy of engaging with a gigantic jigsaw puzzle. And so, all the metaphors. You've been learning how to swim, and now we're going to throw you off the boat and into the big ocean with big giant waves. But you're going to be just fine because we're all here together, right? So this is a big step for all of us to sort of engage in this type of material. So don't worry, don't get frustrated, don't give up hope. You're still our only hope, and you're good enough, which is why you're given this assignment, because I believe in you. And we'll all be learning from all of this stuff. So one thing that you'll learn, and Cheat Wu could speak to this, I'm sure, is when you do this kind of work, you listen to a phrase like sometimes 1 million times. And then you'll play it for someone else, but what do you hear? I'm like, oh, I hear this. You're like, of course it was that. But don't worry, like this is all part of the people who engage in this type of work take really big steps. And so get ready for your big stepping. Any thoughts or questions about this time?
When you find out more about Jimmy Johnson, could you find out what year the recording was done? I'm also strangely curious about the baby in the in the recording. Like, where's the baby now?
Okay. 1963. Oh, wait. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it looks like 1963 and 1961, maybe. I'm reading it right.
So the baby's like in their 50s now.
Yeah. So,
when are we bringing these to class again? Our work that we've done on them?
So I would say, here's what I think we should do. Next week, go for it. Like just see, and what we'll try is see if you can get to about the 1 minute mark of whichever recording you pick. And we'll start going through them the week after that. So try and get yourself set up. We'll do a lot of, I'm sure we'll do a little bit of troubleshooting with Elan. When you troubleshoot Elan, don't shoot Elan, because I know sometimes you might feel like it's like so there's like a clip of a guy who's like takes his computer and he just goes and throws it in the dumpster. So don't go crazy on your computer. Yeah, this is fun stuff. This is, you know, again, there's not very many people who can do this stuff on their own. So that we do this stuff very deliberately, listening together. What do you hear? This is what I'm hearing. Definitely use headphones for this part. Like you can do a lot, like just sitting and having your computer or your device, but it's really a good time to have headphones in, because it takes a lot of careful listening to see what you can figure out. And if you go this route, like you can, if you can do this kind of stuff, you can get paid good money to do this kind of stuff, because there's so few people who can. But you do need to have good headphones, know when your ears and mind are getting tired, because this is some of the most mentally draining work that you can do. But it's also, I think it's the most fulfilling work that you can do. I used to do this work with Nora. I used to do this work with George and Marge. And when I would do it, we'd go in, we were like the A team. You know, I just have them to bounce ideas off of and listen to. And we'd have a whole setup with microphones and headphones and a headphone amplifier. It was a lot of fun to do this kind of work, but yeah. Okay, we only got 10 minutes left, so I want to talk about a few other things. So your weekend assignment is to pick one, to download it, and to just start listening to it. Really start listening. If you want to sort of start working, you can work in ELAN if you want to. I will put all the files up there. They should work. We can troubleshoot it together if you want. Send me an email if it's not working. If you save them in the same folder, you should be able to open it, and it shouldn't, you know, if you need to reconnect it in ELAN, the process that you would go through. Let's see, let me just try this. So if you were working in ELAN, and if it was disconnected, if the audio is disconnected somehow, you would go to Edit, Linked Files, and you would relink it from here. So you would click on this, and you can select Update, and it will let you pick where the thing is. Okay. But hopefully it works. We'll see. I'll put all the files up there. This will be our first trial by fire to see how we're doing. But for now, I would say listen to it. So over the weekend, pick one of these 3 recordings. So the one where he's making this list of foods, the second one where he is talking about the flood, and then the third one where he's telling the story of Keith Gooney. Figure out which one you're going to choose. You're not responsible. It's not like you're all by yourself and you got to come back with 12 minutes of transcribed and translated thing in. Like, I'm not going to make you do that. We're all going to work together. It's a low pressure thing. Nobody gets graded on anything. Just do it and be awesome. Also, make sure you've done your 1-minute conversation. So again, the assignment was find someone that you're familiar with, have a 1-minute conversation, and then write down exactly what you folks said. And then bring that 1-minute conversation. And so now you're going to start to translate as much of that conversation as you can into Tlingit. And we'll be collaborating, we'll be working together on these 2 big assignments, which is one translating Tlingit to English, the other from English to Tlingit. And so we're just seeing how we're able to put the pieces together of all these things we've been studying. So with that, I know we were looking at this. Where am I? So coming back to how Tlingit works. So we did these things, right? K, ka, j, tu, sa, sh, da, ka, sha, sh, da. These are nouns that are built into a verb. So this is what we call the thematic prefix. It's the pink part. It's in between the object and the conjugation prefixes. So we go object, thematic, conjugation, subject, classifier every time, right? So just thinking and reviewing what these things are, we went over this, it was a while ago, the aerial, talking about an area, comparative, which will always have there. The aerialis will just be, it should pop up when this one pops up. Hand, inside, voice or neck, which if you have sa and yu, you're often going to get say, especially if there's not a subject marker there, or else you just get sahwa. But sahwa, third person, sewa. That's why you say akat khat sewa up. Khl is a nose or a point. Da is around or about. Ka is a mouth or an opening. You will also get a for third person. Yuqewatan. Sha is the head. Sh is the end. Is an athematic, which we talked about a little bit at the end of our class last week. So so we went from 1 and 2. So slots 1 and 2, we're going to look at slots 3 and 4. So on 3 and 4, you can have ka or ya, and then you can have a third ka. There's a third ka that can pop up. I think you'll only get 2. I don't think you can have 3. I think it's impossible. So the first one is round. So this is where you'd say achchi kate, or something that's going to be, it's spherical or round. Ya is the vertical surface. And then this ka, which can become just the letter K, is the horizontal surface. And it's in a whole bunch. This is maybe the most common thematic prefix there is. So with ka, it can contract to just the letter K. So like in the phrase, ayahaik shahid, which means this is the phrase that George Davis gave us for drawing pictures. Atyahaik shahid. So what we see is this vowel causing contraction to happen right here. So what we're thinking about here is how things interact with each other. So the first thing is we're looking at these lists. I will give you this entire slideshow so you have it. You can look at it, just commit these things to memory because they have meaning. And then they also have, some of them just have function, which is where we get to this one. So these are the conjugation prefixes. These are all of them. They appear in certain combinations to begin to move the verb into different modes. If you can unlock this in your mind, you've got the language. You've got it. You can move things into perfective. You can use a hortative verb. You can do these different types of things. So when I was sort of revising this a little bit on the East Coast, you have, again here, 4 spots. So if we go back to the thematic prefixes and we think about how they work, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Lingi loves the number 4. It's like, give me 4 classifier groups. Give me 4 thematic prefixes. Give me 4 conjugation prefixes, right? Again, you're not going to have all 4 activated, but you have these 4 things. And they do appear when we number them, because we say going left to right, that's the order that they appear. So as far as what these things do, I kind of created these 2 categories. This one is, it's specific to the conjugation type. Like when we say it's a g conjugation verb, it's a 0, it's a na, it's a qa. So in terms of like when you have a command, hortative, potential, or habitual, that's where you're going to see this thing pop up, ga, qa, or na, which will depend. Like, so for like to, if you command someone to be that way, ye inati, so that na pops up. Command someone to go to sleep, nata. You're gonna command someone to sit down, qanu. You're gonna command someone to be good, ga, e. So these are popping up. and they are linked directly to the verb. It's a g conjugation. It's a q verb. It's a n verb. The right side, it says we use these things and we don't care about the conjugation type. It's not really, it just overrides that to say to have a future, you have to have this g, this and this down here. Non-negotiable, happens every time. To have a progressive, they all will have na. It just gets activated. And so these are really interesting because sometimes they are specific to the verb itself. And sometimes it's just like, okay, the mode just overrides things. For arealis, it pops up in negatives, comparatives. The y pops up in perfectives, and the zero habitual, which we'll just call habitual. And then the qa, this qa is different than this one. You can have both of them. Right? You can say that. That has both of them. But this one down here, which sits in the same slot as the perfective marker, pops up for future, hortative, purposive, potential, and conditional. So there's a lot of different ways. We're going to spend some time looking at these conjugation prefixes. There's another slideshow that I did a while back, which I'll put up on our class as well, which is linked to this one, which is called the conjugator. So just trying to think of, again, how these things work. We're going to keep taking a look at different visuals, tables, examples to sort of just see how this stuff works. So again, thinking of these 4 conjugation types: progressive, future, repetitive. The preverb depends on the conjugation type. So what does that mean? That means for a progressive, 0 and na will always have ya in front of it. Ya na gut, ya ana gwain, or ya na gwain, ya ana squain, right? For ga, it's always going to have k in front of it. K na kain, it's getting better. For qa, it will have ye in front of it. Ye na shquain. Ak Kwan Ani. It's flooding here on Ak Kwan land. We got a flood warning. Future and repetitive. So here again, like what pops up in the preverb, it's going to vary depending on the conjugation type of the verb. For the prefix, these ones, the conjugation type doesn't matter. Imperfective, negative imperfective, progressive, perfective, negative perfective, future, negative future. For these ones, now you get the 0, na, ga, and qa. They will pop up in the command, the habitual, which is also before, the hortative, which is also purposive, the potentials, and the conditional. So this one, it does go through, and this is really just a whole bunch of like cheat cards. So what this presentation is saying, you want to do imperfective? That's a 0 classifier. Here you go. So you can say chacha, tucha, icha, yecha, acha, ducha. That's your whole prefix. And you could scroll way down and say, what are we looking at here? This is a negative perfective D plus L classifier. I can't think of one. I didn't study. We didn't study. You didn't study. Y'all didn't study. They didn't study it. I guess I should have been saying it. People didn't study it. So like this is big. Again, these are big concepts, but you don't have to grasp them all at once. There's these 2 slideshows, one that says, here's all the different prefixes, how they start interacting with each other. This second one says, here's all the prefix combinations that you can make to speak Tlingit. And there's a lot in these two slideshows. And so the idea of making them is saying, this second one is saying, you can look these up, right? You can look up, if you just sort of learn how these work, you say, oh, it's a hortative, right? So if the hortative is, for some sort of conjugation verb, then, and then this is the classifier. So you're getting like the mode and the classifier and the person combination. This one's maybe a little funky. So here's a habitual. So you could say, I always let the dog inside, right? I always let the dog in. Anyways, 7 o'clock, we'll wind it up, but these are two big conceptual things. Whoops, there's the balloons. So like, if you could get it, you've got the whole language, but it'll take you a little while to get there, and you don't have to get it all at once. Thoughts or questions, concerns?
Renee,
Oh,
one suggestion for those who are using headphones. You don't want open back headphones or anything that lets you hear the ambient noise of the room. You want headphones that close it off as much as possible. Otherwise, it's going to be harder to get things.
yeah, that's a really great point. So if you have noise canceling activated, there are some headphones that I've got that, yeah, you can still hear everything that's around you. And you do want to seal off the outside world, because this is you engaging in Tlingit, and everything around you is probably going to have some English around, right? Someone's going to be talking, and that's really going to pull you out of this dream world that you've got to now push yourself into. So as you engage in full level Tlingit, like, you're going to be learning at the footsteps of the masters. And so now this is you going full speed. So, but you're not fighting Darth Vader. You're not, you're still just messing around with like a little practice thing. But yeah, that's a really good tip. Good cheese. Anything else before we go? Well, you guys are the dream team. If I could pick, you guys would be the ones I would draft for my dodgeball team for taking on Tlingit speakers. And so you're ready for it. You're fine. It's a lot, right? When you really get into the language, where it's like, okay, here's the whole Tlingit language. But you're exactly what we need to keep going. So,
Lance, can you explain one more time where to get these tapes at?
yes. So if you take a look at our class website, which I will bring up right now. So here is our class website. Whoops, let me share the thing. So tlingitlanguage.com. So coming here, we go to Learning Tlingit and Advanced Tlingit. And then on our class webpage, here's a whole bunch of resources. And then when you come down, here's the start of our semester, where it says Advanced Tlingit 1, fall semester. So this is sort of like the top of, this is all header stuff, which is all important, but it's like, here's all the resources you need if you want to go find them again. And then you get into here, and here is the recording. So this is the whole recording. And so if everything's working right, you should be able to play it from here, and it'll play the whole thing. And then this little arrow,
General,
oops, is to download it. So you'll be able to download it from there. So what I'm going to put on here tonight is underneath here, it's going to say section 1, section 2, section 3. And then under here, under section 1, 2, and 3, you're going to see this where you could play it. Now this is going to be an MP3 file. And that's not going to be, that's just one to listen to and to download. If you want to put it on your playlist, go for it. But then there's going to be another section that's going to say WAV, wave file. that's the one you're going to work from. So there's going to be two things. There's going to be a WAV file, which is just the name for an audio file. It's a type of audio file. Then there's going to be an EAF file, which is the ELAN file. Those two things need to be saved in the same location. If you save them in the same location, it should be able to find it, right? So whatever folder you put it in, however you're organizing stuff on your computer, if for whatever reason it's not working, you can still just listen to the WAV file and just write down and just use like a table or something to write the Tlingit and write the English. But for now, just like focus on just listening to it, mess around with ELAN a little bit if you want to. We should, whoever's out there writing grants, you should write one for a Tlingit ELAN support group, because this is the hardest work that I think that you can do in the language. Maybe second, the hardest is standing up in front of speakers and talking the language. That's, especially if they say, make a speech, that's sweat and bullets. But even though it's difficult, you could do it. But yeah, so I will put them right here. I'll do it tonight. They'll be up there. So there'll be the MP3 file, which is good for listening, putting on your phone or your whatever, however you're building your playlists. And then the WAV file and the EAF file are going to be the two that you will work from to work on the transcription and translation. If you want to work in ELAN, which I do think makes it easier, because you can just highlight the audio, play it, then you could type in the Tlingit, and right underneath it, you could type in the English. And cheese for asking.
Let's cheese.
Anything else?
Renee? Last weekend, I listened to the whole recording, which was about an hour long and wasn't just Jimmy Johnson. There were at least 3 other speakers, a couple of them women, and then another man. And my experience was that I caught very little of the meaning and not a whole lot of words, but I caught a lot of bits and pieces. Like I'd hear ch, or I would recognize that it was T-in, or something was but is no more. So there were a lot of bits and pieces there, but because it was just an audio file, there was none of the non-verbal or context that you get from being in a room or talking to someone that helps give it meaning.
Yeah.
So I still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, which is why we're just doing these little, like there's a 6-minute one and a 6-minute one and like a 12-minute one. So like it's choose your own adventure, right? If you're feeling like your Link who's level 7 and you've defeated all the monsters and you're feeling like really confident, you go for number 3. If you feel like I'm a little nervous about doing like whole 12-minute thing, because to be honest, like and you're not going to do the whole thing, and it's okay, just do what you can. But if I were to do like a whole 12-minute recording in ELAN, where I'm writing down the Tlingit and I'm writing down the English, and I've been doing this for well over a decade, if I were to do it, I could probably get it done in 20 hours. But that 20, it's not like I could sit down. It would probably take me weeks as well. It depends on the circumstances. If I'm teaching and doing other stuff, if I just took this to a desert island, and if I took it to an island in Hawaii, I had nothing else to do but this, and everybody was feeding me, and I was all taken care of, I could probably do it in a week. But so keep that in mind. Like it might be a lot slower for you, and there also might be just like I'm just catching a word here and there. But then again, you've got the first one, which is really, he does say a lot of things, but a lot of it is just these lists of nouns. And that's a good place to start. If you're feeling intimidated by the whole thought of this, you can start there. Choose your own adventure. Door number 1, 2, or 3. You'll be just fine.
Sheesh.
Okay. Je wish to steen, Johan.
Okay, goodness, cheese.
Ah,
Okay, see you later.
Jogging.
Let's cheese.
Cheese.
okay.
Good night, cheese.